Hey crafty people, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. Over the years I've dabbled in most types of crafting, although for the past decade or so I've been doing primarily card making and mixed media art. I've recently embarked on a junk journaling journey that I hope you'll join me on. Today we're working on another Hobbit door pocket project. Say that 5 times fast. What we're going to do is we're going to create a Hobbit door pocket card, and the tag that's going to go in our Hobbit door pocket is going to have a pocket on the back of it to hold a gift card. Let's get crafting. Okay, so for our Hobbit door pocket card, I'm using Express It paper because I plan on drawing the scene using Copic markers, and that's my preferred paper when working with Copic markers. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and cut out my card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. My pocket piece, which is 4 1/2 by 3 3/4. And the reason I've gone with that size is because I want to create gussets for the tag that's going to go in the pocket, because I want to put a pocket on the back of the tag so that you can put a gift card in the pocket on the tag. And so I allowed for 1/4 inch on either side and 1/4 inch on the bottom for creating the gussets for the pocket. And as I'm thinking about this, I'm realizing I probably should orientate the door and pocket this way. And so okay, so the measurements I think are still going to work if we go this way. My sketch, however, that I did is not. So I kind of sketched out what I was thinking because I wanted to create kind of like a stony, mountainy cave type situation for the door. So I'm going to need to redo my little sketch. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and score my pocket. All right, so this side's the 3 3/4 side, so I'm scoring at 3 1/2. And then I'm going to just flip it around and score it 3 1/2 again. And then this side is our 4 1/2 side, so I'm going to score at 4 1/4. So that's just going to create a bit of a gusset to give us some space for a tag with a gift card in it. Now we're going to want to take away a little bit of the bulk. So as you can see, the scoring creates little squares at the corners. We're going to cut that away. I'm going to cut along both score lines to cut away this square, and then a little sliver onto the sides just to eliminate some of the bulk. So I'm going to do that again over here and just do a little sliver that way and a little sliver that way, so that this bit gets cut away and this bit and that sliver is way too big of a sliver. We're going to cut that score line and that score line and a sliver onto that side and a sliver onto that side. And it's just so that we eliminate some bulk, so that when we fold it back to create our pocket, we don't have as much stuff in the way. Now you can either, when cutting it, cut up your score line and cut out the square. Let's try and stay on camera. And then cut the little slivers. Or you can just automatically cut at the sliver line and just go a little bit that way and a little bit that way. And so what you end up having is just a little bit cut out, so that when we fold it, there's less bulk on the back. Now, if you have difficulty folding a 1/4 inch score line, you can take it over to the edge of your table and use that to bend it over. You can also take a ruler and use that to help bend it over. Just put the ruler where the score line is. And then push up And so that helps. Or you can do it over like the side of your scoreboard. Whatever you have handy and prefer to use. Another tip, when you go to glue your pocket in, you want to put the bottom flap over the side flaps like this, because then you're less likely to have something hit this bottom piece, whereas if you have it on the inside, it's more likely to hit and stick on that than if it's on the outside, because then it's sliding in smooth, if that makes any sense. Got a little bit over here I'm going to cut off. So that's going to be the pocket, and I'm going to put it pretty much at the bottom of my piece. I'm going to have my door here, which I'm going to go ahead and trace around the door. I'm trying to get it centered. It looks about center. Then we're going to have a step up, and then just kind of going to trace in some blobby blocks to serve as the door frame. And I'm going to round the corners on this one. And I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers corner rounder, and I'm going to use the 1/2 inch. I'm just going to use that as the guide for creating the top part, and just have that kind of slope away like that. And up here we're going to do grass. Down here we're going to kind of do more brick-like shapes. So I'm just going to roughly sketch stuff in. And I'm going across the pocket so that it looks like it's all one continuous piece. All right, so that's roughly what my little stone cavern area is going to look like. So next step is I want to cut my door shape out. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to flatten this out. I've got the Fiskar, it's the swivel fingertip knife, and so the blade on it, I don't know if you can see, swivels, so it should be easier to cut out a circle with it. Fingers crossed. So, and remember, if you watched my first Hobbit door pocket, we're going to leave a little bit over here to serve as our hinge for our door. So I'm going to start here and try and stay on my traced out circle. right. Now I didn't quite go through all the way in some spots, so I'm gonna just go back around. I think that will work for our door. This and my scissors to trim up, try to trim up some of the excess that is showing. So now what I'm gonna do is pull out my Copic markers and start coloring. And what I'm gonna do first is lay in a base coat of a light gray just to get some color on where the stonework is gonna be. And I find it's easier to color with Copic markers if you put it on something that's going to absorb the ink essentially underneath. So that's why I'm just pulling out this sketch pad and I'm taking C00 and I'm just gonna base color everything. Now we are going to start coloring our various bricks, and I'm gonna lay this guy on top so that I make sure I color my bricks continuously in the same color. And I think I'm gonna grab a little painter's tape just to tape it down so it's not moving around on me so much. And I definitely want to have a couple different colors of stones. So I'm gonna grab W0 and W3, C1 and C3, R70 and E70 and E71, and E41 and E43. So those are going to be our stone colors. And what I'm going to do is straighten this up so it's easier. Just start going around and coloring stones. So basically what I am doing is I've kind of decided the light's kind of coming this way just because I wanted to have lighter spots on on the stones and then the darker spots. So I had to figure out where I was going to stick the light in the dark spots. And I laid down the dark color first and then went over it with the lighter color. And of course you can go back and tweak and fiddle with them once they've dried and you see you want to add some more color somewhere. But now I'm just going to go around and color in all of our rocks using the colors I've picked out. And I will come back because you don't need to see me coloring in all of these rocks. Now that I have finished coloring in all of the stones, I'm going to take a Tombow Mono drawing pen 03 and go around each of the stones to make the areas between stones a little darker so it looks like you've got more cracks and crevices and gaps between the stones. I know I have the Copic multi-liner set, but I can't find it anywhere, so good thing I have these guys. And so it's just a matter of going around, tracing the outline of our stones, and then in some spots I'm gonna just darken it in to make it look more like there are gaps. So this is just going to add a little bit more detail, clean up any rough edges. So I'm just going to go around and do that around all of the stones. And I'll be back because, well, watching me do this is probably going to bore you to tears. So I'll be back. All right, so I have put in all of the lines around my stones to give it a little bit more detail. And we're going to work on the top. So I'm going to set aside the door for now. And what I'm going to start with is E33, and I'm just gonna create kind of a light layer of dirt. I'm gonna add a little E57 into that. Kind of scribbling a little in because I'm going to come back over with the E33 and blend it just so that it's got some variety in it as opposed to being just one single color. Now the rest of this is going to be grasses, so I'm just going to go over it first with YG03 to add in a base layer of color. Now I know it's not very even, but that's okay because we're going to put in grasses. And I'm going to start with YG17. And I'm just going to flick upward, starting at the level of the dirt. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of the E57 and kind of pull up the dirt bits just to make this a little like uneven at the top there. Now I don't mind that I'm going underneath where my dirt is because this part's going to be covered by the pocket, so it won't be visible, so it doesn't matter. Just need to be careful where the rock wall is. Now I'm going to grab a YG67 to add some darker grasses in. And actually I grabbed YG97 when I meant to grab YG67. So this is YG67, so I'm going to go in and add some of those grasses. Now I'm going to come back in with the YG17 and add some more of that in. And one more color, YG99, to add a little bit more of the dull darkness in. I'm going to keep those strokes a little shorter so that they're closer to the ground. There is our door in our grassy lands. And what I want to also do is add some vines going up our rock face and basically add like creepers. And I'm using the YG17. And I'm going to just sketch in shapes of leaves. And I probably should have done this before I did the black lines. I'm going to come back in with some YG67 and get these guys a little darker. So I had a little bit of a think because I definitely want to do something about the fact that these leaves aren't showing up over the black, and I pulled out some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India ink in green. Now this stuff is water reactive until it dries, and then it is waterproof. and I've got a glass pen, and I'm just gonna try going over my leaves. And that seems to be working to get over the fact that I put the black lines in first. So there we go. The moral of the story is draw your vines before you put in your black lines. And while this may not necessarily been the color I was planning on going with for my vines, I think it works well enough and solves the problem of the black lines. And I'm gonna leave this to dry now, because if I try and do anything else, I'm just gonna make a mess. Okay, so my leaves are dry, and it did work to cover up the black lines, so that's good. So all that's left to do is color the door and add our mechanism, and then it's time to move on to creating the tag. So for coloring the door, I am gonna use purple. So I'm using a V12, a V15, and a V17. And I'm gonna start by just laying down a coat of V12. V17, I'm gonna make this look kind of wood-like. So I'm just adding some squiggly lines essentially to give the look of wood grain. I hate when I trail off and don't finish my thought. And I know it kind of looks like a hot mess right now, but we're gonna blend it out with the V15. And then I'm gonna use some V2 to help further soften the dark purple sections. And one more time with the V15. And I'm going to do the same thing on the inside of our door. Okay, so I finished coloring the back of the door and the front of the door, and I just did kind of a mid-tone gray for the inside of the cave. And so now we're going to do some assembly. First, I'm going to apply a piece of vellum to the inside of the pocket, and it measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm just going to use some art glitter glue. Just make sure you don't apply any to where the door is. And I applied it a little too far over to the side, so I'm just gonna take some scissors and trim that off. And apparently it's a little too long at the bottom, so we're gonna trim that off. And now for the door mechanism. So apparently when I was filming the door mechanism installation, I was mostly off screen, so the footage is useless for showing you how to do that. I will link down below my original Hobbit door pocket video where I do show you how to install the door mechanism, and I'll also have it at the end of this video so that you can click on it and watch that video to see how to install the door mechanism. Again, I'm so sorry. I went and pulled out, I have some leftover dragons from our project I was doing, and these are from a My Favorite Things stamp set. And I am going to stick one inside our little cave. So I'm going to glue him down. And now I'm going to add our Hobbit door piece. Oh wait, first I'm going to trim off the vellum that's sticking out since we had curved our corners. And now I'm going to stick our door down. So I'm going to do this. Get that glued down, so I don't have to worry about them flapping up. Now I'm going to glue down line it up on the side, make sure it's lined up at the bottom, and line up that side, and push it up a little bit, and there. And there we go. I'm just going to hold it down for a sec to make sure it grabs. And I may come in with a marker and just clean up along there where some white is showing. And now let's add back on our door mechanism. And it does open, and you can see there's a dragon inside. And now we just need to make the tag with a gift card pocket on it to go inside. Okay, so I've gathered some stuff for making the tag to go in our Hobbit door pocket. And this is a leftover piece of masterboard from my Jane Austen Meets Dragon junk journal. Because this card is the card going along with that gift. I cut it down to 4 1/4, no, 4 1/2. 4 1/2 by 3. And then I grabbed a scrap piece of coffee dyed paper, and it is 1 1/2 inches by not quite 3 1/2 inches. So that's gonna use that on the back to create our pocket for a gift card. So the gift card will sit in the pocket like that. I want to make gussets on this so the gift card will fit neatly. But first I am going to decorate the front of this, and I'm going to use, this is the Simon Says Stamp tin tile stencil, and it's SSST 221565 if you're interested. So I'm going to pull over my glass mat because it is magnetic, so I can hold down my stencil and the tag with magnets. And I am going to use Salvaged Patina because I don't want to go too dark, but I just want to add a little more interest to this background. Now I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers Scallop and Cloud Punch and Corner Rounder. So on the bottom, I'm going to round the corners. I'm going to use the 1/4 inch to round the corners on the bottom. And I'm going to use the Scallop Punch to round the corners at the top. Well, scallop them. And now I'm going to go around the edges with Distress ink and Peacock Feathers because it'll stand out a little bit better. Now I'm going to grab my scoreboard so that I can score the pocket for the back. And I'm going to kind of come in 1/4 inch on either side. And then I think for the bottom gusset, I'm only going to do 1/8 of an inch. And now here's a tip for a very small area being scored. If you fold it over the edge of your scoreboard, it makes it easier to get that score done. And as with the pocket, when you score, you end up getting a little, in this case, rectangle at each corner, and we're gonna just cut that away. And I'm gonna angle in on this side and angle it that way just to get rid of some of the bulk so that we're left with that. So again, just take from where the score mark is, go a little bit above it and snip to the corner, and then on the other side go a little bit above past the score mark to the end so that you get that shape. And again, it works better if you fold it so that the bottom score is on top. And we're just going to glue this in place and add it on. So now you've got a gift tag will fit in there nicely, and then that will fit into our Hobbit door. And you open the door, voila. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of decorating on this. And again, I'm pulling out my leftover dragons. So I think I'm gonna stick him there. Put this guy on the pocket back here and stick him there. So we're just gonna glue them down. Now I'm gonna poke a hole in the top and put a hole reinforcer, which I've got the Elizabeth Craft Designs die that creates a whole bunch of different shaped hole reinforcers. And I went through and cut a bunch of each shape out of book paper. And I think I may have used all of the flowers, which is what I'm looking for. So I think we'll go with that guy. I've grabbed my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch, and I'm gonna punch a 3/16 hole. Now I'm gonna take my gear and a scratch piece of paper and ink it up with Peacock Feathers. And there we go, our tag is done, and that will go in our card. And I do think I want to grab some fibers to go on that. I've got some fuzzy baker's twine that are in blue, that's in blue and purple. And I'm just gonna cut a piece off. Grab my easy beater. Pull it through. Make a loop. And stick our tag in. And there we go. But for sticking it on a card base, which I don't know that you need to see me doing, our card is done. So there you go. We've got our little Hobbit door, which opens up, and you can see our little dragon inside. And if you pull the tag out, you can see the other little dragon inside. Flip it over, and you've got a gift card. Take it out, and you still have a cute tag, which you can put whatever you want in the pocket. And I will link down below my Hobbit door playlist, which has the original Hobbit door videos that I did where I created a pocket in a junk journal. So if you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting!